Welcome. Thank you all for joining. We thought we are going to do a little tech talk or a little session about the differences, or not necessarily the differences, but what you need to consider when you need to do an NSX-v to T migration in a service provider, so in a vCloud Director environment. If any of you have any questions around NSX-v to T in a more, let's say, commercial or enterprise environment, we can have a chat afterwards anyway. And Alice just had told me already I shouldn't do any Q&As anymore. So we will get started. My name is Yves Sandfort, but I give Toby the head start for the moment.
Yeah, thanks, Yves. My name is Tobias Paschek. I'm working for Comdivision as a partner, mainly in the service provider environments or in the service provider stuff related to the whole cloud networking, cloud security part.
Good.
And over to Yves.
Yeah, my name is Yves Sandfort, CEO and partner in the Comdivision group. I'm more the solution architect on the overhead side, so building the overall cloud stack, and then I work with Toby and the other guys to make all the magic happen from that perspective. Also, quickly, how do we work? And this shouldn't actually be a surprise for everyone. We basically separate our work normally in 3 categories: architect, educate, and operate. We always think that the educate part is one of the key factors, because nothing helps you if we design something for you and implement it, and then off we go and you have no clue what we do there. So that's why we split that, but we don't want to talk that much about us, but more about the technology and what we are trying to solve here.
Yes. When we have a look to the whole migration process from NSX-v to NSX-T, we just separated in a kind of agenda in the 3 major pitfalls: the migration preparation and the migration itself. So this is what we need to do. We need to be aware of what can possibly go wrong, more or less everything. We need to prepare for the migration, and we need to migrate itself. So have a look at the 3 pitfalls. Mostly, and the most important one, NSX-T is not NSX-v. So yes, there is something in the naming. Nowadays, VMware also finally changed the name, not call it anymore NSX-T. The final name now is NSX only. But especially when it comes to migration from a Cloud Director perspective, NSX-T is absolutely not equaling NSX-v.
But that applies to nearly everything, also in the commercial space. NSX-v and T are not the same product. It's basically like comparing an old Cisco CatOS switch with a new Nexus box. That's 2 completely different designs there as well.
Yeah. Talking about design, also this is one of the major pitfalls, that everybody thinks, hey, okay, I just quickly migrate from NSX-v to NSX-T, and that's it, and without having any design. Since, as I already mentioned, it is a different product, we need to have a new design for NSX-T, especially because there are major changes inside NSX-T. And last but not least, planning the migration without your customers. You have customers running in a service provider environment, you have your tenants, and you need to inform, because we will have a look why this is so important, but you need to inform your customers, hey, something is changing in our data center, there will be a short interruption maybe, so we need to have here something in mind. Okay, let's start with the first one. Thinking about NSX-v equals NSX-T. No, absolutely not. We have the difference on tier 0, tier 1 versus edge service gateway and distributed logical routing. There is a huge difference in the whole routing stuff, in the whole routing process from NSX-v to NSX-T. Also, what is really important to know, and what you really need to know, is that the distributed firewall works differently in NSX-T than it has done or it was working in NSX-v. For example, in NSX-v, we had the capability of having the distributed firewall also filtering traffic between 2 virtual machines connected on different segments. This is not possible in NSX-T. This was not possible in NSX-v. Also, on the other hand, we have the issue that many service providers are using SSL VPN for their tenants, for their clients. This is gone. There is no SSL VPN solution anymore in NSX-T, and also there will be no further SSL VPN in NSX-T, so we need to have another version or another product. And VMware, as it is today, is not really offering another product. So we can we need to have a third-party solution for having SSL VPN maybe up and running if we need it. Last but not least, this is more or less already solved, is that from NSX-v perspective, it was possible to having DNAT, SNAT, and IPsec VPN running on the same public IP address. This is currently not possible with the latest releases of Cloud Director 10.3.
3, 2, 1, I'm
Sorry,
not sure.
I'm not sure. And NSX-3.3, but this is solved with the release of Cloud Director 10.4 and NSX-4, because it was, to be honest, it was not really a feature or the issue in NSX-T. It is an issue that the Cloud Director UI is not capable of doing DNAT and IPsec VPN with the same public IP address. And the last one is that the integration between vCenter, NSX-T, and Cloud Director has been fully changed. So we know normally when we go to our Cloud Director environment and we create an PVDC with NSX-v, everything is prepared, finished. Now with NSX-T, we need to connect Cloud Director to our vCenter, but also to our NSX-T manager, which means we maybe need to have new firewall rules in place that vCloud Director or Cloud Director is capable of connecting to our NSX-T manager.
The other thing over there is what you also need to keep in mind is that NSX-T needs to be there before you create your provider VDC. Just saying that because we had a case where a service provider thought that they can later on actually connect an NSX-T manager to a provider VDC. That's also not going to work, and was a very wonderful lesson for that specific customer, or service provider in that case.
The second major pitfall is that everybody says, hey, why should I do a new design? I'm just taking out NSX-v, bringing in NSX-T, finish. No, that's absolutely not true. So you need to create a new design for NSX-T with the typical steps. So preparing a test environment, play around with the new stuff. As mentioned, NSX-T fully works different. So we need to figure out, hey, what are the changes? How can we do stuff like we have done it in NSX-v? And also the play around will support you in the final migration process, because then you know already, hey, okay, when I get an error message talking about that a tier 1 gateway is not running as expected, yeah, okay, what is a tier 1 gateway and stuff like this. Do not try the migration without any preparation. This will clearly fail, to be honest. The migration tool is nowadays really working well, but if you don't have done any preparation, you will clearly fail without the whole migration. And what Yves mentioned just before, and one of the important parts in the whole design process is we need at least one additional provider VDC prepared with NSX-T, because otherwise we cannot migrate, because it is not really an in-place update or stuff like this. It is a lift and shift migration, migrating from a provider VDC backed with NSX-v to a provider VDC backed with NSX-T. And this needs to be done in Cloud Director, not inside NSX-T Manager or not inside vSphere or stuff like this. This clearly needs to be done in the Cloud Director environment. This is also one of the important information here. Please do not migrate outside from your Cloud Director, because this will clearly also mess up everything and will not be a working solution. And please, do not use the embedded migrator from NSX-T, because then your whole environment is fully messed up. As mentioned before, migration tool is working. Yes, still it is a command line tool, which maybe someone is bothering and say, hey, I would like to have a nice looking GUI. No, it is still a command line tool. Nowadays also available on Windows. In the starting point, it was just available for Linux, but nowadays it is also available on Windows. On the other side, we need to talk with our customers. We need to change maybe something in the customer's organization VDC, because this is what the migration tool is doing initially. It is doing a full assessment and shows you, hey, can we migrate or can we not migrate? Migration is done fully with running VMs, so there is no issue. The VMs will not be powered off. which also means, on the other hand, for our new provider VDC, we need to have exact hardware. So we cannot do a migration from Intel to AMD as usual, because also here the migration tool cannot do any new surprises. So we need to have the same hardware architecture. But we need to inform our customer there is a short interruption on the network side. So this is also here really one important information. Please do not migrate without telling your customer, hey, today we will change something in our data center. We need to do it because we run out of support. We need to go to NSX-T. There will be, a short interruption. But we will have a look afterwards. I have a virtual demo of the migration itself, where the interruption would be and how long does it normally take. And also, on the other hand, why do we need to talk with our customer? The migration tool itself gives you the option that you can call your customer and say, hey, we have now migrated your environment to NSX-T or to the new provider VDC. Can you please test before we finally finish the migration? Because if the customer comes back and say, hey, none of my stuff is working, there is also a quick rollback available that you can clearly go back from NSX-T, from the new side, to the old side, and then hopefully everything is running again. The migration process itself, as mentioned, this is just a short outcome of the migration tool. So what is the migration tool us showing? Also the name, but I have to put out the name, but the UI of the UUID of the customer and the status. So status could be can be migrated. Status could be can be migrated, but needs additional preparation. We will cover this in the on the next slide. Or there can be also, and I don't have one, there can be also clearly signed saying cannot be migrated.
That would be SSL VPN.
No, SSL VPN is something which can be migrated to be fun.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes the tool is also funny. For example, if the current organization VDC is not utilizing anything from NSX-v, then it is a clear no-go, because then Cloud Director or the migration tool says, hey, what should I do with this organization? Related to what Yves just mentioned, from a perspective, so the tables, let me quickly go back. The tables go, the rows go here forward or further. So we see, for example, here we have one customer using SSL VPN. Another customer has configured syslog on his edge service gateway. So these are some kind of showstoppers in the migration process. Okay, we know there is no SSL VPN, then we need to talk to the customer and say, hey, okay, we need to migrate you from NSX-v to NSX-T, but SSL VPN is gone. We have a new solution. It's called whatever you name it. And we will migrate you, and we will now disable the SSL VPN access on your old environment, and then we can migrate the customer. The migration process itself. So let's have a look what we have. We have in the starting point, we have a traditional organization VDC. So we have our customer. Our customer is using his edge service gateway. The edge service gateway is connected to my distributed logical router, and we have a bunch of VMs. So normal Cloud Director environment, what we have or what we know nowadays. On the other hand, what needs to be already prepared up front is we have created a new PVDC backed by NSX-T. We have deployed our Tier 0 gateway. Our Tier 0 gateway is connected to our external network. This needs to be already done up front. This will not be done by the migration tool. This needs to be done by us as a service provider. Otherwise, we cannot migrate. Okay, we have the migration tool running. We say, okay, finally, we can go with this kind of customer. We would like to migrate him. So the first thing what the migration tool is doing in the background is all of our networks, or all of the networks the customer has used, will be automatically generated in the new organization VDC running on NSX-T. So this is the first step. The second step is that we come in with our new Tier 1 gateway. which is the replacement of the Edge Service Gateway from NSX-v perspective. Doing the configuration like it has been done on NSX-v, fully automated, so we don't need to do here anything manually. So all of the stuff will be transferred or handed over to the new Tier 1 gateway. But at the moment, our Tier 1 gateway don't have any kind of downlink. So the new created networks are just there and will be extended to NSX-T. How will be the extent done? What we also need to prepare upfront are two dedicated, at least two, it depends how many networks a customer have, at least two edge gateways in NSX-T for bridging, because NSX-T, and this is also a huge difference between NSX-v and NSX-T, the bridging was also there in NSX-v, but the bridging was always done on the host. In NSX-T, the bridging is done on an edge node. So one of the first steps the migration tool is doing, taking our new networks and bridge the new networks back to our VXLAN networks. So also here, from a design perspective, one important information, those three guys needs to be running on our NSX-v cluster. They cannot run on the NSX-T cluster because they have no connectivity to the old network. So these three guys needs to be running on the NSX-v cluster. Then we can extend the newly created networks to the old networks. So we have already now a bridge connectivity between NSX-v and NSX-T. So what we are doing technically is talking Geneva or bringing VXLAN to Geneva, nothing more. So now we have the bridging done. Now the next step of the migration tool is cutting the external connectivity. So this is the part where we have a short interruption, because the migration tool first of all needs to disconnect our edge service gateway from NSX-v, bring the Tier 1 gateway online inside NSX-T. So there is a short interruption, and then the whole traffic runs outbound via NSX-T. So now we have a final connectivity. Now we can test everything. And this is also the part where the migration tool firstly stops and really tests if the external connectivity is capable. So what the migration tool is doing is trying to reach from our Tier 0 gateway VMs still running on NSX-v and says, okay, everything is online, everything is connected. Okay, we can move on. And now the second phase comes in. The second phase is just a vMotion, a vMotion from the OVDC backed by NSX-v to the new organization VDC or to the new provider VDC running on top of NSX-T. Also here, depends what you would like to achieve and what you would like to do. If there is some storage changes also involved that we need really to do not only a vMotion, that we need to do an SVMotion, so migrate the whole storage. It depends how long the migration will take, because we need to transfer all of the environment in one shot to the new data center or to the new organization VDC. So if the question comes up, how long does a migration normally take? The answer is, as always, it depends. So it depends how long a migration will take, because I don't know how many amount of data needs to be transferred. If you just talk about vMotion, okay, we know normally a vMotion process takes 30 seconds, maybe up to 2-3 minutes. So then the migration really will be much quicker. And then the migration will be stopped, and really stopped. So then the migration tool says, hey, I have done my first work. Now please call the customer and ask the customer if everything is as expected. So then the customer comes in and can test, hey, my organization VDC is running, everything is there, my VMs are still there, hopefully. I have external connectivity, I have internal connectivity, all my services are up and running, and gives you the information back. Okay, everything fine, everything is running as expected. And then the last step of the migration tool comes in then the migration tool finally will fully clean up the old environment. So the organization will be deleted on NSX-v. The newly created organization on NSX-T will be renamed to the old name. But also here, one important information for those who are using a third-party backup solution, organization unique IDs still be the same, but since we're changing the cluster below, maybe your third-party backup solution like Veeam, like Commvault, whatever you have, maybe is not able to back up from a vCenter perspective, because from a vCenter perspective, it is a set of new virtual machines. Yeah, and that's it. Then we have migrated all of our NSX-v backed stuff to NSX-T. We are finished. And then we can move on with the next customer, with the next organization VDC. So also here from a migration perspective, the migration itself can be only done within a single organization VDC. You cannot say, okay, I would like to migrate more than one VDC. It is always a single organization VDC.
But I think that's also an important point, is you can take one customer by another over to the new structure. And I think one of the things which we have seen, which many service providers do as well, is that you utilize the same process or actually do at the same point a complete hardware refresh. So you take every of your customers from your old existing hardware infrastructure, which might be 2-3 years old, you set up the new cluster, the new target environment, and actually build that with a new infrastructure. Maybe it's going even to switch to vSAN and all kinds of other things. And you use this one transformation moment to actually bring your customers from an old infrastructure to a completely new infrastructure. And that then also opens up the door for new services which you can potentially build on top of that.
And also what has been introduced with the migration tool 1.3 something is originating. It was also only possible doing the migration in the same vCenter. Now with the latest release of the migration tool, we can change vCenter as well. So this is also really something which is helping us now to do an easier migration, because many customers still, many service providers still running on 6.7, which is fine. But they say, hey, okay, now I go all in with vSphere 7. Maybe in a couple of weeks with vSphere 8, then okay, I don't need to update my current vCenter. I will really deploy a whole bunch of new stack, bringing in vSAN, bringing in whatever, and then do the migration. But this is something which is a couple of weeks old, that we now can also change vCenter in the whole migration process. Since we are not allowed, but still it is there is the QA.
But Alistair is gone, we can still throw that.
But we are absolutely perfectly in the timing. If you have any question,
please feel free to drop us a message over any of the social medias, email, or we are here around the conference still until tomorrow evening, at least most of us. So find us, grab us, talk to us.